Let's bring in one of those new cabinet secretaries. Pete Buttigieg joins us now, the new transportation secretary. Secretary Buttigieg, thanks for joining us this morning. We just heard John Karl say there that there's no margin for error on the Democratic side on this COVID relief bill. Any single senator can derail it. Are you confident Democrats can hang together to get this done?
Yes, because it's so important and because the American people want this to happen. Look, each passing day, the need for relief becomes more urgent, ensuring that we have the resources to defeat this virus, but also to support American working families. And by the way, that's not just a unifying priority for the Democratic coalition. That's something that has a remarkably large degree of support among Republicans, at least among Republican voters, Republican mayors. We're hoping that will also show up among Republican legislators here in Washington, but of course that's what the next few days will show.
What you're hearing from Republicans is the size of the package, that it's just too big. And it's not just Republicans saying that. Larry Summers, NEC Director for President Obama, Treasury Secretary for President Clinton, argued this week that it's too big, the economy doesn't need it. And then he added this. He said if the stimulus proposal is enacted, Congress will have committed 15% of GDP with essentially no increase in public investment to address these challenges. After resolving the coronavirus crisis, how will political and economic space be found for the public investments that should be the nation's highest priority? What he's arguing is that what we're going to put at risk is the ambitious infrastructure investment you're pushing as Transportation Secretary.
Well, there's no question that we have to do many things at once. And if you look at the way that economists have responded to this proposal, you've seen economic advisors from the last 4 administrations. Think about what that means. That's Clinton, Bush, Obama, and even Trump saying that we need to do this. You've got Moody's saying that we could have 4 million fewer jobs if we don't act now. And we're operating in a time of historically low interest rates. This is a moment where the greatest risk we could take, as the president has said, is not the risk of doing too much, it's the risk of doing too little.
You're also, and that's what you're hearing from a lot of progressive Democrats as well. One of your fellow candidates last year, Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders, is addressing the $1,400 stimulus payments to each family. President Biden said he's firm on the $1,400, but he might be lowering the income threshold. Here's what the senator had to say about that. I strongly oppose lowering income eligibility for direct payments from $75,000 to $50,000 for individuals and $150,000 to $100,000 for couples. In these difficult times, all working class people deserve the full $1,400. Last I heard, someone making $55,000 a year is not rich. Your response?
It's a really good point from the senator. Look, you got hardworking families out there. You got an ER nurse or a firefighter in that 60 range. I think it's really important that we are taking care of working families. That's obviously something that is being discussed and in this process going back and forth with Congress, and there needs to be robust support.
But if that's what it takes to pass the bill, lowering the threshold, it's worth it?
Look, there's active conversation going on right now, obviously, but the bottom line is we've got to support as many Americans as we can, as robustly as we can, and as quickly as we can. Time is of the essence. And, you know, part of what was a real struggle the last time we faced a major economic challenge in 2009 was a sense that there needed to, if there had been more political will in Washington to do more, the economy might have recovered more quickly. You look at the jobs numbers now, about half of those 20-some million jobs that we lost haven't come back. We are in much more precarious situation than we were a decade ago. We've got to act.
Your Transportation Secretary, the airlines are warning that we're going to see massive furloughs next month if the Payroll Protection Program is allowed to expire. Is it a mistake not to include that extension in President Biden's COVID relief package?
So we've been speaking with airline workers and carriers across the country. There is a lot of concern. So many Americans depend on the aviation industry for their livelihood, and we welcome the conversation that's going on right now. Again, speaking with Congress, too, remember there was decisive action earlier in order to make sure that airlines are supported. Now in this package, that's something that we need to do and get right.
So you're going to do it right away, even if it's not included in this package? Wouldn't it be more efficient to include it in this package now?
Well, look, that's part of the conversation going on in the administration and with Congress over a package that has many different elements. But I can tell you, this ask from the aviation sector is being taken very seriously.
Let's talk about your broader agenda at transportation. You want to have an ambitious infrastructure program. Everyone always says they're for investing in infrastructure, Republicans and Democrats alike, but talks usually break down over how to pay for it. How do you avoid that trap this time around?
Well, I think the thing we've got to remember is that this is a classic example of the kind of investment that can pay for itself. The kinds of resources that we put into our roads, our bridges, now into things like digital infrastructure too, into rails, ports, and aviation, those pay back enormously for the American people. Now, over really more than just the last administration, but the last couple, there's been gathering and growing momentum. I certainly heard it in the confirmation process, where Republicans and Democrats were talking about infrastructure investment priorities. But now we also have a historic moment on our hands where we've realized just how critical these needs are. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. And while it's not going to be easy to come to terms on exactly how to sustainably fund it, we know, once again, with the economic urgency, the interest rate environment, and the gathering political will, that we can actually make this happen. And I think it's a great example of a bipartisan priority that, if we get it right, might help pull some other things along too.
What have you heard from Republicans that gives you hope, and are you concerned that this impeachment trial coming up this week is going to complicate the progress on President Biden's agenda?
Well, again, I was really struck going into the confirmation process just how many Republicans wanted to talk about the things we should be investing in, the things we should be improving, and had a lot of different ideas about how to make sure we pay for it. I'm not saying it'll be easy. Look, there's a reason that we haven't been able to do it yet, but you can feel the energy, the, frankly, impatience after the idea of infrastructure week turning into a punchline again and again in Washington about making sure that this is an infrastructure year that sets us up for a successful decade. And look, the Congress has many constitutional duties. Those duties all run at the same time as each other, but delivering on infrastructure for the American people is certainly part of that responsibility.
A year ago, you were riding pretty high heading into New Hampshire during the presidential campaign. Did you imagine that a year later you'd be Transportation Secretary?
It's amazing how much can change in a year, but I'm absolutely delighted to be actually involved in governing. We spent so much time, that whole political cycle, talking about what we might do, what we could do, what we should do, what we would like to do, and now we're actually doing it. Again, it's not going to be easy. We know what we're up against as a country, but I'm absolutely thrilled to be in the seat, doing the work, and doing it with the Biden-Harris administration that is serious about making infrastructure happen.
Secretary Buttigieg, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.